There is a crack in the north wall of Tutankhamun's tomb. Most people walk right past it. It runs beneath a painted scene so expertly restored that for 90 years, every archaeologist, every television crew, every tourist who entered Chamber KV62 in Egypt's Valley of the Kings walked within arm's reach of it and registered nothing. It looks like part of the mural, a seam in the plaster, a trick of the torchlight. But hidden inside that wall is something that shouldn't exist. A door, a sealed door. And behind it, according to one of the most decorated Egyptologists of the modern era, the untouched burial of the most recognizable woman in the ancient world. Not a myth, not a metaphor. A room, possibly with a body. And Egypt may have known about it for decades. In 2014, a Spanish conservation institute called Factum Arte entered KV62, carrying photogrammetric scanning equipment, the same precision imaging technology used to document structural damage in conflict zones. Their mandate was preservation. Create a digital archive of the tomb's painted walls before further deterioration. The resulting files were extraordinary in resolution. When British Egyptologist Nicholas Reeves processed and analyzed those scans the following year, the images revealed something that changed everything. Beneath the painted plaster on the north wall of the burial chamber, the scanner had detected linear irregularities. 2 vertical seams, spaced at precisely the width of a standard New Kingdom doorway. Reeves published his findings in September 2015, Journal of Egyptian Archaeology. Catalog reference: Reeves' preliminary report, Valley of the Kings, KV62 North Wall analysis. The scientific community paused. Here's where it gets strange. Reeves had spent 30 years studying the structural layout of royal tombs in the Valley of the Kings. What he saw in those scan lines was not random. The dimensions matched, the placement matched, the wall junction angles matched. Every structural indicator pointed to the same conclusion. The tomb of Tutankhamun, called the greatest archaeological discovery of the 20th century, was never originally built for Tutankhamun at all. It was cut for someone else, someone whose chamber was sealed behind a secondary wall when the boy king died unexpectedly young, and whose identity was painted over and erased, buried in plain sight for 3,000 years. The name Reeves put forward was Nefertiti, great royal wife of Pharaoh Akhenaten, regent, possibly co-ruler, stepmother, and by some genetic analyses, possibly the biological mother, of Tutankhamun, the woman whose blue-crowned bust in Berlin's Neues Museum has been reproduced more than almost any image from the ancient world, and a woman who, after year 12 of Akhenaten's reign, simply vanishes from the historical record. No confirmed tomb has ever been identified. No confirmed mummy. She was one of the most powerful individuals in Egyptian history, and the earth swallowed her completely. For decades, scholars dismissed it as symbolic. The gaps in Nefertiti's record were attributed to political erasure, routine damnatio memoriae, the systematic destruction of images and inscriptions following regime change. But that explanation has a problem. It assumes absence means destruction. The scans suggest absence means concealment. The first clue is carved into the wall itself. The painted scene on the north wall depicts a standard opening of the mouth ceremony, the funerary ritual performed to animate the deceased's spirit. It shows Tutankhamun's successor, performing rites over what is labeled as Tutankhamun's body. Standard interpretation: a coronation scene, doubled as funerary record. But Reeves noted that the attending figure wears a blue capreche crown, not a priestly cap, a pharaonic war crown, and the proportions of the figure being attended are anatomically inconsistent with a male form. The shoulders are narrow, the waist curved. For generations, it was attributed to artistic convention. Then, modern forensic pigment analysis revealed that the head of the corpse figure had not been retouched. It had been repainted over an original cartouche that was physically chiseled flat before new plaster was applied and painted over. They weren't correcting an error. They were erasing and identity. The second clue comes from the ground. In November 2015, Japanese radar specialist Hirokatsu Watanabe entered the tomb with a ground-penetrating radar array and conducted systematic sweeps along both the north and west walls. His data, submitted formally to the Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities, indicated the presence of a void space behind the north wall, a cavity approximately 8 meters in length, producing a radar return signature consistent with organic materials and metallic objects at depth. Not similar to a sealed burial cache, not inspired by one, the same radar signature as an intact New Kingdom royal chamber. The Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities, under Minister Mamdouh El-Damati, announced to international press that the probability of a hidden chamber was, quote, 90%. And then they went quiet. A second team, organized under National Geographic, entered in 2016 with different equipment. Results described as inconclusive. A third team, Italian researchers from the University of Turin, using advanced ground-penetrating radar, completed their survey in 2018 and published findings in 2020. Their conclusion: no evidence of hidden chambers. The ministry accepted the Italian results and formally closed the inquiry. Reeves issued a brief statement acknowledging the new data. He has not commented publicly since. The original Watanabe radar files and the complete Factum Arte photogrammetric dataset remain in the custody of the Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities. Neither has been released for independent scientific review. It was sealed, it was mapped, and then it disappeared. The third clue is linguistic. Nefertiti's formal royal epithet in ancient Egyptian reads Nfr Nfrw Itnen, Nfrti It, most often translated as "Perfect are the beauties of Aten, the beautiful one has come." Standard praise language. But Reeves draws attention to a secondary inscription recovered in fragments from the Amarna Royal Wadi, the desert valley used as a royal burial ground during Akhenaten's reign, where the epithet continues with the directional phrase. In full context, the inscription reads something closer to, "The beautiful one has come into the Western House." The Western House. In New Kingdom cosmology, the word west did not mean a compass direction. It meant the realm of the dead, a tomb. And in the Valley of the Kings, all tombs are cut into the western cliff face. They weren't writing poetry. They were recording a location. Then, modern science found something that changed everything. In 2010, the Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities published DNA analysis on royal mummies from KV-35, a cache tomb discovered in 1898, containing multiple displaced New Kingdom royals. Among the bodies was one, labeled KV-3-5YL, a young female mummy found stripped of all identifying inscriptions and wrappings. The DNA results confirmed she was the biological mother of Tutankhamun and a daughter of Amenhotep III and Queen Tiye. That is precisely the genealogical position Nefertiti is believed by several Egyptologists to occupy. The mummy was identified in the official report as an unknown princess. No further testing has been authorized. And if that's true, if KV-35YL is Nefertiti, it means her original burial was violated, her identity was stripped, and her body was moved and relabeled. Someone worked very hard and very specifically to make sure she could never be identified. Now, does this prove the most extreme version of the story? Probably not. The Italian radar team's methodology was rigorous. Geological voids in limestone can produce false positive signatures. The photogrammetric seams in the plaster might be pre-existing structural fractures, unrelated to any doorway. Reeves himself has acknowledged that the physical evidence is not yet conclusive. But that doesn't make the discovery ordinary, because even the most conservative reading of the available evidence accepts these facts. Unexplained linear anomalies exist in the north wall. Pigment layers above an erased cartouche were confirmed by infrared reflectography. And the question of where Nefertiti is buried remains officially, formally, academically, unanswered to this day. And if the 2015 radar readings were accurate, it means archaeologists have been standing inside her tomb for over a century without realizing it. Think carefully about what that means. Howard Carter entered KV 62 in November 1922. The treasures he extracted filled 132 crates. The golden death mask became the defining image of ancient civilization. If Nefertiti's chamber is real and lies sealed behind that painted wall, it was constructed for a ruler who wielded more institutional power during her lifetime than Tutankhamun ever held during his. Whatever she was buried with, if the chamber is intact, would not supplement the Tutankhamun collection. It would eclipse it. But here is the deeper question. The Amarna period, the religious revolution under Akhenaten, the suppression of the old gods, the brief empire of the Aten, was methodically dismantled after Tutankhamun's death. Temples were demolished. Statues were defaced. Inscriptions were hammered out of stone walls across the entire Nile corridor. Akhenaten's name was removed from the official king lists entirely. Someone invested extraordinary resources into making sure the Amarna chapter of Egyptian history ceased to exist. And Nefertiti, who almost certainly ruled Egypt independently under the throne name Neferuiten, in the transitional years between Akhenaten's death and Tutankhamun's coronation, was the most powerful figure of that erased chapter. If her tomb is intact, it may contain administrative records, religious texts, and correspondence that nobody in the ancient world wanted to survive. That crack in the north wall of KV 62 is still there. The painted plaster is still intact. The Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities has not authorized further drilling, additional radar surveys, or endoscopic examination of any kind. Thousands of tourists enter that chamber every year. They photograph the murals. They read the explanatory placards. Most of them have no idea what may be 3 feet behind the paint. The most significant archaeological discovery of the modern era may be sitting behind a wall that the ancient world sealed, that the modern Egyptian state has formally declined to open, and that visitors walk past every single day without a second glance. If this investigation deserves more eyes, hit like and subscribe. Every share puts this evidence in front of someone who may help push for the independent review these files were never given. And if you want to go deeper into the sealed tombs and suppressed discoveries beneath Egypt's desert, watch our next video on the chambers beneath the Valley of the Kings that have never been opened to the public.